Alan Dillon is my name. I'm a beef specialist with Teagasc, and today I'm going to talk to you about optimising beef farm profitability in 2022. The year 2022 has brought about unprecedented increases in terms of the cost of production on farms, both fixed and variable costs, while also bringing, thankfully, some big increases in terms of beef prices, with finished cattle prices hitting in excess of €5 per kilo for much of the summer months so far. If we look at what this means for our farm, in terms of our cost of production, we're looking at two different systems here. We're looking at dairy calf to beef production, which we are using the data from our Teagasc Green Acres farmers, and we also have an efficient suckler to weaning producer from the Teagasc Monitor Farm programs. If we look at what this means then in terms of costs, we have made some budget assumptions on the farm. Meal in 2021 was in around €260 per tonne on average. We expect this to average close to €400 a tonne this year, depending on what way meal prices go in the autumn. Contractor charges are estimated to be up by 25%. Fertiliser prices will have increased by 150% roughly in 2022. Other costs, such as other variable and fixed costs, we expect some probably more minor level increases, with the exception, I suppose, of tractor diesel and machinery purchases and repairs being the only ones that will see bigger increases on farm. What we've assumed with all these costs is that input levels will be at the same volume as last year. So whatever you used last year in terms of volume of concentrates, of fertiliser, we're assuming that you're going to use the same again this year. So if we take the dairy calf to beef system, we're assuming that calf prices were relatively similar overall to 2021. Purchase feed is one of the ones that will see a big increase, and we're assuming that using the same level of feed as last year, the cost of production of feed will go from 62 cents per kilo deadweight up to 95 cents per kilo deadweight. This is a 53% increase in cost of purchase feed. Fertiliser will be the biggest overall increase. It cost in the region of 16 cents per kilo last year. Expect that to go to around 40 cents per kilo this year, which is a 150% increase across the system. Veterinary will show a more minor increase of 11%, while contractor charges, because of the cost of diesel and labour and machinery, we expect that to increase around 23% across the farms. Other costs, more minor level increases of depending on what you're spending, but we would see, I suppose, an average maybe something between 20 and 25% across all other costs on farm. The cost per kilo live weight will be in the region of around, will go from around 185 per kilo up to 253 per kilo, and this translates into a carcass price, a cost per kilo of carcass increasing from 362 per kilo up to 495 per kilo across the farms. So a 37% increase in cost of production across our dairy calf to beef monitor farms. If we are to look at our suckler systems, the overall costs, I suppose, will change in terms of their structure, but the result is more or less the same. We're seeing that the overall beef price required in terms of a live weight to go from 196 per kilo up to 270 per kilo across the suckler to weaning system, or at 356 per kilo on a carcass basis up to 492 on a carcass basis across the suckler to weaning systems. Really and truly, the only difference between the weaning system and the dairy calf to beef system is where the inputs are placed. Purchase feed on the suckler to weaning system will increase from 8 cents to 13 cents per kilo. Fertiliser will see the biggest increase. It will go from 34 cents per kilo up to 84 cents per kilo. Whereas other costs will see more minor level increases, such as contractor, veterinary, etc. So overall, we are looking like we do need a higher weaning price this autumn to cover our cost of production, similar to what the dairy calf to beef has experienced earlier in the year. So what we're going to look at now is what we can do on farm to try and mitigate against these cost of production increases. So the first one, I suppose, is in terms of fertiliser, where most of our money is going to go this year. We do have some options to look at, such as soil testing. So looking at your soil results, seeing what you can do in terms of rectifying soil pH. Lime is probably taken one of the least increases in terms of cost of production cost this year. It's gone from around 25 euros per tonne up to in around 28 to 30 euros per tonne. Very minor. So rectifying lime based on your soil results will have a huge bearing on how you can control your costs for this year and next. The protected urea versus can. Urea is vastly cheaper than can. Using protected urea versus can as your nitrogen source will reduce the cost of your nitrogen on farm. LESS slurry systems can increase the quantity of slurry or nitrogen being given through your slurry. And we also have clover, which is I suppose something that's becoming to the fore more this year because of the cost of nitrogen. It's more a long-term strategy in terms of it will take a number of years to incorporate this into your farm, but it's something that I suppose farmers should consider looking at this year as to start a plan in place to increase the quantity of clover in the sward. Meal, I suppose, while it's more relevant for finishing systems, really and truly high quality silage is your biggest asset in terms of controlling your meal costs. If you don't have high quality silage, looking at a system where big quantities of meal will be required in terms of finishing heifers or bullocks in a shed, it's not really a runner unless you're high quality. Unless you have high quality silage in excess of 70 DMD. Finish your cattle earlier, something that we can look at also as drafting cattle at an earlier stage as fat covers become adequate, and feeding small quantities of meal will help reduce the quantity of meal required into the winter. Better performance from grass, so grazing the sward at the right quality, at the right height and quality, moving your cattle every 3 days, having good infrastructure in place. These are all strategies that will help reduce your cost of production. Fuel is probably the one fixed cost that really has gone very high. Diesel has gone from being in excess of 50 cents per litre 2 years ago to in excess of 150, 160 per litre now. So there's going to be a huge increase in terms of the cost of diesel on farm. And look at jobs such as topping, etc. Machinery work needs to be done. Ask yourself, is it required to be done, or is it more for cosmetic purposes? Try and see where you can pull some costs out this year. In terms of our cattle sales strategies, we would say, look, sell your heavier weanlings early. Look and see, can you pull them off grass now in the next month or two? Avail of the high weanling prices, the higher weanling prices we're experiencing this year, and reduce your grass demand into the autumn as grass growth will decline. Cull prices, I suppose, are something that should be looked at as well. We are dealing with very good cull prices this year. Can you cull your problem cows on farm? These are the ones that are, problems with docility, problems with feet, mastitis, etc. And maybe look at replacing them later in the year, next year, with good quality replacement heifers. Take the opportunity of culling them out now while beef prices are quite high. For finishing cattle then, I suppose we would say weigh all your cattle in the next month or so and try and assess fat cover. See, can you look at maybe changing your system slightly in terms of maybe moving from a 24-month kill to maybe can you split your kill over three sections now. Maybe you look at killing cattle at 20 months, 24 months and 28 months. Can you reduce the quantity of meal that are going into these cattle over the winter period and try and reduce your cost there. High quality silage, as I said already, is what's required for indoor finishing. If you don't have silage in excess of 70 DMD, you will have to question, with the high meal prices that we're going to have this winter, is it worth your while killing cattle in the shed? And I suppose something that every farmer needs to think about, this is going to cost a lot of money this winter to finish your cattle. Can you get a forward contract price off your factory this winter? And it's worth speaking to your factory agent to see, is this possible? So if we look at the take-home messages that we're going to see this year, I suppose strategic marketing of your cattle, such as planning your kill ahead for the winter. Look at killing your cull cows maybe now in the next month or two. Sell weanlings maybe as they come to the right age off grass. Sell your non-productive or inefficient performers. Grass is still your cheapest feed, so make use of that while you have it in the grain growing season. All options are on the table, and we have to be, I suppose, more aware of our costs this year, especially going into the next 6 months of our winter finishing period or our winter housing period, where costs are going to increase dramatically on farm. I would say assess your feed stocks for the winter. Silage is going to be expensive also. Ensure you have enough for what cattle you have over the winter. And what every farmer should do in the next couple of months is complete a cash flow budget. See what way the cash flow situation is on farm, and if it does look like you're going to be in trouble, talk to your bank or talk to your advisor.